The so-called king of good times is currently out of the country.
Satisfied the court that the jail conditions are good in India, barrack number 12.
For 2 decades, Vijay Mallya wasn't just a businessman. He was India's Great Gatsby. He was the king of good times. While the world watched the Vijay's wonders and lavish lifestyle, Vijay was quietly pulling off one of the biggest financial heists in history. He didn't just bankrupt an airline, he looted 9,000 crores and left his own people to starve. His father, former chair of the India-based United Breweries Group, died in 1983. Vijay was just 28 years old. Imagine handing the keys to a billion-dollar kingdom to a 28-year-old playboy. Most people thought he would ruin the company in a year. But here's the twist. He didn't. At least, not at first. He turned out to be a genius. Mallya understood something his father didn't: perception. He knew that in India, people didn't just want to drink beer, they wanted to taste the lifestyle. He launched Kingfisher beer, not as a drink, but as a ticket to the high life. The calendars, the fashion shows, he made himself the face of the brand. It worked. United Breweries became a cash machine. He was printing money, but for Vijay, being a liquor baron wasn't enough. He wanted more respect. He wanted to touch the sky. And that ambition was the beginning of his end. Kingfisher Airlines was supposed to be his masterpiece. He wanted to build a 5-star hotel in the sky. Every seat had a personal TV. The cutlery was heavy silverware. He personally interviewed the flight attendants, mostly based on how they looked. There was just one tiny problem. It was economically impossible. He was selling the champagne experience for a lemonade price. Aviation is a brutal business. You survive by cutting pennies. But Mallya was burning cash like it was confetti. Fuel costs were rising. Competition was fierce. But instead of cutting costs, Mallya was upgrading the food menu. By 2007, the airline was bleeding money, but Mallya, he doubled down. He decided to buy Air Deccan. Now, this is important. Air Deccan was a budget airline for the common man. Kingfisher was a luxury airline for the rich. Merging them was like trying to mix oil and water. He paid 550 crores for a company that didn't fit. As a result, chaos. The brand got confused, the service quality dropped, and the losses, they didn't just double, they exploded. By 2009, Kingfisher had accumulated losses of over 1,600 crores. Here is a fact most people miss. In its entire history, Kingfisher Airlines never reported a single year of profit. The fuel companies were refusing to fill up the planes unless they got paid in cash. Mallya needed a lifeline. He needed massive amounts of money fast, but no smart investor would touch him. So he stopped looking for investors and started looking for victims. He turned to the banks. Since Kingfisher was burning massive amounts of money, Vijay turned to the state-owned banks for loans, specifically IDBI Bank. Now listen to this. IDBI's own internal risk committee flagged Kingfisher as a grade D company. That means do not lend. They rejected his loan application. But then, mysterious calls were made from powerful offices in New Delhi. The bank officials were told to reconsider. Overnight, the rejection turned into approval. The bank released 900 crores of public money to a dying airline. No questions asked. But the boldest part of the heist wasn't the loan. It was the collateral. Usually, when you borrow millions of dollars, you pledge land, gold or shares. Mallya pledged his logo. He hired a consultancy firm, Grant Thornton, to value the Kingfisher brand. They came back with a magical number, 4,100 crores. He convinced the smartest bankers in India that a picture of a bird was worth more than a physical factory. He traded imaginary value for real cash. Now, where did that money go? The Enforcement Directorate tracked the cash, and it didn't go to the airline. It went into a global laundromat. Mallya used a network of shell companies in tax havens like the British Virgin Islands, Mauritius, and the Cayman Islands. The trick was simple: over-invoicing. He would allegedly pay inflated prices for lease rentals to foreign companies that he controlled. He moved $40 million into a family trust in the UK for his children. He moved millions more into Swiss accounts, and while the airline was collapsing, he funneled millions to keep his Force India F1 team on the track. He poured cash into his Royal Challengers Bangalore IPL team to keep the show running. By 2011, the banks had given him over 9,000 crores. By 2010, Kingfisher couldn't pay the interest on its loans. Legally, the banks should have declared him a non-performing asset and seized the airline. But Mallya offered them a deal: corporate debt restructuring. He pulled off a financial magic trick called evergreening. Instead of money, he traded the company's shares to buy him time and more debt at a price of 64 rupees and 48 paise per share. The banks took the bait. They became owners of the sinking ship. However, the actual market price of those shares was much lower, and soon after, the stock price crashed to under 10 rupees. By the time they realized the equity was worth zero, the cash was already in the Cayman Islands and widely diverted to his Force India F1 team and other personal vanity projects. In 2011, Kingfisher's own auditors refused to sign off on the financial results without a qualification. They flagged that the airline was calculating deferred tax credits, basically imaginary future profits, as current assets to hide the losses. But the first real blow came from the Income Tax Department. In December 2011, they raided Kingfisher's offices and found that Mallya had deducted tax, TDS, from employee salaries but never deposited it with the government. He was using employee tax money to run the business. The Service Tax Department struck next. They froze 40 bank accounts and even seized Mallya's personal Airbus A319 luxury jet. The walls were physically closing in, while his staff went unpaid for 15 months, leading to the suicide of an employee's wife. Mallya threw a lavish 60th birthday bash in Goa in December 2015. He flew in Enrique Iglesias to perform. He spent millions in front of the very bankers he owed billions. It was a display of untouchable power. The consortium of banks, realizing they had been looted of 9,000 crores, finally moved the Debt Recovery Tribunal to seize his passport. However, the Indian political system is so corrupt that before they could seize his passport, he flew to London and is fighting a lawsuit in the London jurisdiction. Till now, he has paid twice the amount he took.
Even if they fled the country, we've gone after them. ED has collected this money and given back to the public sector banks. 14,131.6 crores only from Vijay Mallya.
Recently, he has come forward on social media to celebrate parties with Lalit Modi and the winning of the RCB.